move on to our next program in line. And who do I have? Our second guest. And who, you might be wondering about this second guest. I'm going to tell you. This is history, beautiful history. Mark McKenzie is a senior financial sector specialist in financial stability, supervision and payment pillar at the SEACEN Centre in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is a DTM, and what did I just say what a DTM means? Distinguished Toastmaster, and has been an exemplary member of Toastmaster International for almost 20 years, during which time he has held various leadership roles at both the club and district level. He is currently serving as president of Kuala Lumpur Advanced TMC, which stands for Toastmasters Club, and VPPR. What does VPPR stand for? Vice President of Relation of Kijang TMC. One of his favorite quotes is, "Carve your name on hearts, not tombstones. A legacy is etched into the minds of others and the stories they share about you," by Shannon Alder. And to let every one of you know, he was our sponsor and mentor for the Antigua Toastmasters Club that we are now celebrating 9 years. Please put your hands together for Mark McKenzie. The victory lectern is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Francois Boyne, DL4. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. Carve your names on hearts, not tombstones. A legacy is etched in the minds of others and the story they share about you. The Antigua Toastmasters Club really holds a special place in my heart. As fate would have it, around 2012, I was on assignment in Antigua, and there were some eager, enthusiastic, engaging, and exciting individuals who were anxious to form a Toastmasters Club. Some of them, I think, are present in this audience this evening, and some of them to whom I will pay homage for what I have accomplished since 2012. DTM Mark Young, DTM Julie, DTM Elka, and people like Pearl Quinn, who went on to the international speech contest right here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, a few years after I departed Antigua, and so many others. The area director, Cindy Price. I can't forget these people in terms of their enthusiasm, their eagerness, and their excitement to charter a club in Toastmasters. Very often I tell people that leadership and communication skills are the essence of our success. But very often I tell people that Toastmasters is where you get the tools to become better leaders and better communicators. The best way, or the best analogy that I have used, certainly, to convey this message to others, and this evening in particular, I want to speak more to those who are not Toastmasters, but also to those who are new to Toastmasters, as well as some of those who are the niners, as was determined in this survey earlier. I very often tell people is, think of Toastmasters this way. You have a serious plumbing issue at home. You have found the ideal plumber to solve your plumbing problem. But the plumber turns up without a wrench, a spanner, or the tools that are necessary to get the job done. If your basement is flooded, if your kitchen is flooded, I can assure you that that plumber will be of no good to you. So think of Toastmasters this way. If you're a young graduate, for example, or if you're in the middle of your career and you're thinking of how to advance your career, think about turning up without having been equipped with the communication skills, the leadership skills, the interpersonal relationship skills, the team building skills. What will happen to you in your dream job? So indulge me for a few minutes. I believe I have about 12 minutes or so. I want to share with you my journey in life and how I have benefited from Toastmasters. And specifically, what I would love to do is, I'm going to give you a bit in terms of my own background, which in Toastmasters, as you have heard from the first speaker, is really my icebreaker. The second bit, what I want to emphasize is the importance of relationship. And that is key in terms of how this club was charted as well. The third bit is I'm going to speak a little bit about my own leadership and communication styles, something that I learned in Toastmasters. And then I want to end with a bit in terms of my travels around the world and issues in terms of culture shocks, lessons that I've learned, and how to overcome those culture shocks, and how I've benefited from my involvement in Toastmasters. But I want to start because I don't want to be speaking for the entire 20 minutes. So what I want to do is I'm going to ask you, why are you here for this session? If you could just indicate in the chat for me, why are you here? That would help me very much. So if I just take 2 minutes, and I'm just going to ask you to indicate in the chat, why are you here? If you're an existing Toastmaster, why are you here? If you're a non-Toastmaster, why are you here? So if you could just engage in the chat with me, that would be quite helpful. So Norma says, learn from fellow speakers. So I'm assuming, Norma, you're Toastmasters. Very good. That's what we do. That's what Katina, to learn more about public speaking. Katina, are you a Toastmaster? Can you just indicate to us if you're a Toastmasters, please? No, Katina. So I'm going to share, I hope, share some things with you about Toastmasters from my own experience, and I hope that will be good. Garfield, to become better communicator and mentor. You're an excellent communicator, Garfield. Thank you very much. So especially those who are non-Toastmaster, not an existing Toastmaster, but I am here to develop my public speaking skills. So try me. I would encourage you to join Toastmasters. I did that over 20 years ago. Table topics and supporting Club Open. Serena, yes, table topics. I'm going to speak a little bit about table topics as well, to work towards my goal of skilling. This is an excellent point about working. So this Orencia, to work towards my goal of upskilling myself in communication, public speaking. That's excellent, and I'll share a little bit about that as well. So thank you very much for those as well. So I will continue. So just a bit of background about who I am. You heard earlier in my introduction that I work with the SEACEN Centre, which is an acronym, the Southeast Asia Central Bank Research and Training Center. I've been here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia since 2016. That's just about 6 years now. I'm a senior financial sector specialist. But in terms of a deeper background, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. So the first question is, what does someone who is from Jamaica, from the Caribbean, doing in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia? Well, it's really what I do for a living. I've traveled around the world extensively. But in my current role, I constantly interact and interface with 19 central banks in Asia and other parts of the world. I'm constantly in contact, communicating with people at the World Bank, at the IMF, and other key agencies around the world. So at the heart of what I do is communication. Communication is at the heart of what I do. Today, with technology impacting our world and impacting the space in which I work, banking and finance. I'm constantly speaking with people at Google, Facebook, Amazon, you name it. This is what I do. Now, what I want you to think about is, what if I did not have the necessary, one, communication skills, two, the necessary interpersonal relationship skills, three, the necessary negotiation skills? How would I survive in that environment? And I'm telling you that you survive by becoming a Toastmaster and developing those skills in your Toastmasters Club. And at a personal level, I'm involved today in two clubs that each meet twice per month. So 4 times per month, I'm in a Toastmasters Club, honing these key attributes. When I was in high school, a teacher would say to me, repetition is the mother of learning. Practice becomes perfect. And this is what I'm suggesting to you, is that in Toastmasters, you get a safe environment in which to practice some of the key skills that are necessary for success. I know earlier someone asked the question if Toastmasters is about public speaking. Frankly, when I joined, it was all about public speaking. Today, it is much more than public speaking. And when I think about public speaking, I do that a lot. Pre-COVID-19, I would be standing in front of 3,000, 5,000 people in a conference room speaking. Never getting overly anxious, but nervous about being successful, because that's what we do in Toastmasters. I told you I was going to tell you a bit about the importance of relationship. If you're just starting your career, if you're a young graduate, understanding technology is key. Being in these forums, and Zoom, for example, is key. It's good. But the most important thing that you will learn is relationships are key. And in Toastmasters, you develop relationships. But how do I use these relationships that I have developed in Toastmasters? My job, my career over the last 20, 30 years has taken me to more than 30 countries around the world. And I can assure you that each time I'm supposed to travel for work, one of the first thing I do, I go on to the Toastmasters website, www.toastmasters.org, and I search for a club or a couple of clubs in the city that I am about to visit. And I'll write an email and I'll say, I will be in your vicinity over such and such a time. I would love to visit your club. And as all the Toastmasters who are in this forum this evening, I see you have people from South Africa and elsewhere in this forum. All the Toastmasters who are in this forum will tell you that it doesn't matter where you visit a Toastmasters club, you are going to find a common group of people. They have an innate desire for self-development and to help you grow. So if you ask, how did Mark take himself up from being in Toronto, Canada, to all the way in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and establish a community, is because I had a community here before I had the Toastmasters community. But beyond that, some of what I've accomplished in life is based on the relationships that I have formed with Toastmasters and with others. So what I'm suggesting to you is that in Toastmasters, you develop relationships, very strong relationships, But these are relationships that are key to your success. If you need to find a job, if you need counseling, this is where. So let me elevate this slightly, a little bit more for you. So 2 weeks ago, I received a WhatsApp message from a young man in Hong Kong. I'd only met him about 2 or 3 years early on one of my courses at the SEACEN Centre. But somehow I must have done something right and must have created an impression on him. In his WhatsApp message, he said to me, "Mark, I am taking a job in Saudi Arabia to help develop their financial technology hub." To me, I mean, that's an honor that he's telling me this. But what is even more a privilege is the fact that he said, "I would like to know if you think this is a good thing." In other words, he's looking to me for some counseling advice, and this is what we call evaluation in Toastmasters. He was confident enough that he will get a fair and valuable and insightful assessment from me. That's the importance of forging relationships in Toastmasters, in other forums that you're engaged in. And I find these things as honorable. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege, I was literally in tears as I listened to DTM Mark Young spoke about our bond as well. And Mark Young and so many others there are people who I'm so deeply, deeply indebted to. Let me turn very, very quickly to my leadership and communication skills. And this is something you heard earlier about pathways. I accomplished my Distinguished Toastmasters Award on the traditional Toastmasters program. But since 2017, I've been engaged in the Pathways program, and I've completed the Dynamic Leadership Pathways and currently pursuing the Persuasive Influence Pathways. But through my involvement in the Pathways program, I have come to understand my leadership and communication styles. So if you ask me to describe my leadership style, I'll tell you that I do enjoy coaching. I like to encourage others to reach their fullest potential. But I'm only effective to people who are receptive to change, receptive to take counseling. I'm also somewhat altruistic and democratic. So what it means is I do spend a lot of time with people. People are the most important things to me. In fact, when Francois reached out to me, she wanted me to do a video for this. And I asked myself, what's the point of a video if I can sit in the forum and to share with you live what the bit that I have learned, hence the reason I'm here. So these are some of my key attributes, And I share this to say to you is that understanding my own leadership style and my own communication style also helps me to understand the leadership and communication styles of others. Now, you're going to ask yourself, how is that helpful for our success? How is that helpful? It is helpful because we're able to discern and communicate in a harmonious and friendly environment with each other. We're able to have less conflict. We're able to devise the strategy to counter different leadership styles. All right. So that is key. So I'm going to end with a couple of stories for you and the true benefit of Toastmasters. So what I want to share with you in the last couple of minutes is on my travels around the world and my encounter with different cultures and some of the shocks that I've had, the lessons that I've learned, and strategies that I have developed as a result of my involvement in Toastmasters. I mean, obviously, like most of you, my work has been impacted by COVID-19, and I sincerely hope that you are well wherever you are, and hope that the virus is taming now wherever you are. So let me share a bit. In 2017, I had my, sorry, in 2007, I had my first assignment in Asia for the International Monetary Fund. And this was to Macau. My role there was to help the authorities in Macau enhance their anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing framework. And I was part of an IMF, International Monetary Fund team. We were there for about 4 weeks, and a substantial part of my time was spent in workshops doing training for public sector officials in Macau. Now, I had with me at the time the mission chief, who was an Australian guy, and so he was with me. And one of the things I noticed in my workshop is that I would ask questions and I would not get a response. Now, coming from the University of the West Indies, you know, my lecturers would ask questions and they would expect the students to respond. And if the students don't respond, then, you know, if you had Trevor Monroe or Claremont Curtin, you know, Prasad and some of the others at the university, they would say, Mackenzie, are you still asleep? You know, so they do expect a response. So I was quite shocked that I was asking questions of these participants in Macau and I wasn't getting a response. Well, I learned from my mission chief, the Australian guy, and obviously he was much closer to Asia being an Australian, that in Asia, in a group, there's a hierarchy. And the participants may not communicate or respond unless their head or the person who is highest in ranking has given a response or an authority to say, yes, you can respond. And this is interesting because if there was a Korean airline flight crash 2 years ago in San Francisco, and a part of the issue there was that the sub-pilot was a Korean, and he knew the chief pilot was coming in too fast, but they are not accustomed to speaking up, all right? And this is the essence. So I told you earlier about the essence of understanding leadership and communication style is key. So in Macau, I learned that that's how things are in Asia. So there's this, in the Western culture, it is slightly different. Now, another thing that I learned is a few years ago, I was working in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan functions more in a traditional system. So if there's a conflict, it is about he said, she said. Well, there is never she, because women are not recognized in Afghanistan, or they're not given the standing as we would expect today women to have equal standing. But in Afghanistan, it's the men. So it is he said, he said, he said. Whereas in Western culture mechanism is an accumulation of the facts, and then you get some kind of arbitration in terms of understanding what the key issues are to reach some kind of compromise. So I had a conflict on one of my assignments in Afghanistan, and it was all about he said, he said, he said, at which point I kind of said, well, no, what is at stake is the US government's millions of dollars, and the Canadian government's millions of dollars, and the European taxpayers millions of dollars that I had responsibility for. So we're going to resolve this based on Western conflict resolution. So these are key. So these are some of the shocks that I've had as I travel around. So let me share with you how I address these now. I'm in Toastmasters. One of the things that we learn is preparation. Preparation is key. So I had to come here at this time. It's morning time here with me. I just had my coffee, but I had to prepare in terms of what is it that I wanted to share with you. So preparation is key. So how do I prepare before my assignments overseas? Of course, all of this is pre-COVID-19. Before every assignment, I read up on the places, the people, and the culture that I'm about to visit. And one of my hacks is to at least learn to say good morning and to say thank you in the local language. So for example, when I'm standing in front of 20 participants in Laos, PDR, I can say Sabadi de Tonso, good morning. If you say Sabadi Dor, which means how are you, I can say that too. I can also reply Sabadi de. It goes well, which is what I'm saying. In Malaysia, I have learned a little bit of the Bahasa Malaysia, Selamat Petang, good morning, and I have to say Terima kasih to say thank you. And in Mandarin, I greet my Chinese friend with Ni hao, hello, or Ni hao ma, how are you? Here in Malaysia, I'm immersed in the culture. I'm extremely active in the local Toastmasters community. I'm extremely active in hiking, and I frequently get invited to speak at other Toastmasters Club, at universities, and at conferences because of the work I do. I see myself here in Malaysia as an ambassador for Canada, Jamaica, and the wider Caribbean, and Black people as a whole, which means I must be exemplary in my conduct and behavior, which interestingly, the Toastmasters core value, integrity, service, excellence, and the others. These are our core values. I'm deeply conscious that I'm a guest here in Malaysia and that I have an innate obligation to be respectful of the culture and the people. Prior to the pandemic, my family and I returned to Canada once per year. We're now approaching 2 years, and my wife has just returned from Canada, but I have. With COVID-19, we miss you in the Caribbean, we miss our family, we miss everyone, all of them. So my parting message to you, if you're a non-Toastmasters, is that Toastmasters is not about public speaking. Toastmasters is not just about communication and leadership skills. Toastmasters is a lot more than that. Toastmasters is about relationships. It's about understanding your own leadership and communication styles. It's about honing your negotiation and conflict resolution skills. It is also about respect and the other core values that I mentioned to you. So if you're a young graduate, if you're in the middle of your career and you're thinking about how to advance your career, my best advice to you would be join Toastmasters to get the tools that you need for your dream job. Don't be like the plumber that turns up without the spanner, the wrench, and the tools that are required. My favorite quote is, carve your names on hearts, not tombstones. A legacy is etched in the minds of others and the stories they share about you. Shannon Alder. Eleanor Roosevelt said, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. If you truly believe in the beauty of your dreams, if you truly want to leave a legacy behind, my strongest recommendation to you is harness those communication skills, harness those leadership skills, harness those soft interpersonal relationship skills, and your dream will be accomplished. I am still standing on the Don Figueroa Mountain in Manchester, Jamaica, and I'm still looking at the horizon of the Caribbean Sea, and I am still dreaming. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Mark McKenzie. Mark, thank you. You actually laid it down even in a way that, let me say, a 5-year-old can understand and say, okay, mommy, I want to be a Toastmaster. I want to be able to learn more than just communication. And that is so true. Many of us think, oh, we just wanted public speaking, but we know that everybody is for public speaking. Not everyone is for public speaking, but we speak all the time. The relationships, that is so true. I remember my VPPR, or VPPR for Antigua Toastmasters Club is Money for St. John. And one of the things I remember her sharing in a meeting, that when she got the role and she placed on her LinkedIn, and everybody know about LinkedIn, when she placed on her LinkedIn account that she is a Toastmaster and the position that she have, it was like an immediate rush of persons like, oh, wow, and the network with her. And that's how she was able to meet other people. And even myself, I can testify to that. And many others can testify. The relationships is so key in growth. And that's why on your certificate, which I will now present to you, I have something that says iron sharpen iron. And I'll present this certificate to you of our thanks. Iron do sharpen iron. How else can we grow? How else can we go further? We need to move beyond the shoreline in life. And I hope all of our guests and even our current Toastmasters and visiting Toastmasters, you took a lot from Mark McKenzie and also from Fabiola, you know, my Spanish. Thank you so much. I present the certificate of our appreciation to you, Mark McKenzie. And now I'm going to ask our Zoom master to present it, to show you to, so everyone can see. Okay, all right. And our certificate. All righty, there it is. There it is, there it is.